I think there's still a few more years to run with this property going up. The rents keep going up. There's 780,000 new people coming into Australia over the next 2 years that they've bumped on the already amount of people coming in. You want to go and buy something. I live here in Crow's Nest. You can't buy anything. You can't rent anything. And it's a word called supply and demand. So at any rate, I put it to you. You're probably not going to be brave enough to say, don't buy anything today. I don't know. But you did say that in March 2020.
Well, yeah. So at that stage, just remember where we were in the journey. Well, that was at the start of COVID, when in fact the expectations were unemployment was going to go up to 15%, that interest rates would probably have to be cut significantly, et cetera, et cetera. Now, actually, of course, what happened is we have significant intervention from government through Home Builder, through all of those handouts that were given. You know, that's our money being given out to try and help people buy property. The banks also got very generous in terms of their lending. And so we had this massive run up in property values, which, you know, almost nobody expected, 35% in some cases. Now, that was an aberration. That was because of government intervention and government policy trying to keep the economy afloat. Now, I didn't predict that was going to happen, although I did think they'd do some unnatural acts. I didn't think they'd go that far. But even Phil Lowe's now said, well, we probably went a bit too far. But that was why we had this massive run up in property, right? Now, ultra low interest rates will enable more people to buy property. And that's absolutely what happened. And it happened around the world, not just in Australia. The question is now, from this point forward, what's going to happen? And there are two countervailing forces now in play. The first force is this strong migration, strong demand for property, a lot of renters trying to buy property, little supply, as you say. And in fact, listings have moved up slightly, but they're still relatively low relative to where they were over a 5 or 10 year horizon. On the other hand, you've now got much higher interest rates. You've now got people struggling with cash flows. You know, in my surveys, more people now are struggling in terms of money in, money out. You know, I measure it in stress terms. So we've got these two countervailing forces, and the unknown part of it is, what will the government do and what will the Reserve Bank do? Will the Reserve Bank take interest rates down? They can't, because at the moment inflation is too high. Will the government actually intervene some more? And, you know, they've already done Home Builder and first-time buyer incentives and all those things. Will they encourage the states? Well, they've got this program where they've got this 10 billion now, which was going to go actually and ultimately fund through its returns investment in social housing and things. But just to be clear, to meet the population demand that we have, we need to build a Sydney or a Melbourne or a couple of Perths every few years just to meet the demand that we're going to see over the next 20 to 30 years if they go on like they're going on. So it's a very, very uncertain set of circumstances. But my own view is this: there are properties that are still worth buying. There are some properties that you shouldn't touch with a barge pole. And the trouble is that you need to pick which is which, and you need to go quite granular to do that, because I can tell you there are some very different stories around the country now between good property and bad property, what I call the dogs and the stars. So I'm not saying don't buy property. What I'm saying is buy the right property if you're going to buy property, and also, quite right, as you said, hold it. You've got to think about holding it for some time, because I don't think you're going to see anything like capital appreciation that we had over the last couple of years through COVID and post-COVID. Now we're going to see property prices go slightly sideways, maybe slightly up, or maybe slightly down. If we get a recession, much more severely down. So there's an economic question, which I can't answer. Are we going to get a recession? And then there's a consequence in terms of property.